All right, bodybuilding fans, Bob Cicherillo along with David Baye and Peter McGough. We're here at the Tampa Pro. 223 athletes in total for the weekend. Of course, we got things rolling today with the prejudging, Peter, and starting things off with the 212. Some very good competition here. I don't think any big surprise when those top three were called out first round.
Yeah, top three are obviously Tricky Jackson, Hide, and Marvin Ward. And, you know, you've got three varying physiques there. Condition-wise and fullness, I see Marvin. But, you know, the lack of size might count against him. And he's got a bit of a long body when it comes to proportion. But 50% of the marks are up tonight, so it's all to play for.
That should be interesting across the judging panel. Is obviously almost a repeat of last week, David, where we had three very close physiques in Sacramento, and the judges were all over the place, each of those guys having first-place votes. Hide with a definite size advantage here. Even though they're all in the 212, Hide looks a lot bigger than the other guys.
Yeah, you know, I think if you take these guys and you separate them and you look at each guy individually and you take the bodybuilding criteria that's laid out, I think Marvin Ward is your clear winner. I think from head to toe, he's more complete than Hidetada. He's in every bit as good a shape as Tricky. But you put the three guys next to each other, and Hidetada definitely is the bigger guy. You know, and we think about the 212 class with everybody being short, and sometimes you think height isn't an issue like it is in the open class, but it most certainly is. And when you put Marvin next to Hidetada and even next to Tricky, he does get outsized. Again, Hidetada definitely a more imposing figure on the stage. But as far as a complete bodybuilder goes, I'm going with Marvin for the win. They did keep Hidetada in the center the whole time, as we know. That makes it pretty clear that Hidetada is probably your favorite.
Is it all relative, Peter? I mean, does size matter even in the 212, where obviously there's a lack of height, but obviously not in terms of musculature and size itself, in terms of muscle size. Is it relevant like that, though? I mean, is it, you know, does size matter in the 212?
It shouldn't, but I go along with David. You know, you look at Marvin individually, and he's way ahead. He's home and dry. Then when he stands next to Hide is so much wider and bigger, and it comes into it. But, you know, another guy, smaller guy, Derek Farnsworth, he got stronger and stronger. And, you know, in that second call-out or whatever it was, he looked pretty good. So, you know, like I say, David was saying, you know, they stand alone. Sure. You see him, but it's all about comparisons. Some guys are great in comparisons, and some aren't so good. But it's still all to play for. But Marvin Ward, what an incredible bodybuilder he is.
Yeah, he's put together. I mean, he calls himself the human statue, which you can see because he's perfectly proportioned. I always like to joke with him, tell him he poses for trophy tops, both in size and relevancy. But two other names that were called in that first call-out, we had Corey Matthews and Tomas Benali from Italy. Both the guys looked good initially, but almost seemed to fade. And like Peter says, Derek Farnsworth got in that second call-out, but then kind of got moved right into the middle. So clearly not one of the bigger guys, but Farnsworth looking good today.
Yeah, Derek looked really good. He posted some pictures on Facebook last night that were absolutely insane from a conditioning standpoint. He's on such a small frame that, you know, he's definitely got that working against him. But the fact that they moved him to the middle says a lot for Derek. You know, Peter and I had spoken. I think Tomas is a little bit underrated, doesn't quite get the looks that he should. He's a big guy for 212. He always shows up in good shape. I'd like to see him a little bit darker. You know, he seems to come in really light as far as his tan all the time. Corey Matthews, conditioning not quite where it needs to be, but, you know, as we had mentioned, I think if Corey comes in really good condition, I think he'd be in that top three easily had he been in as good as condition as some of those other guys.
This is going to come down to tonight, and I think it's close enough, Peter, that the scoring will be scored tonight. The judges do reserve any scoring, of course, for nighttime. The guys will be compared in the confirmation round of scoring. Is it tight enough to go either way, or do you see a clear, decisive 1, 2, 3 any which way?
You know, it's only a few hours, but who knows what, in the modern days of bodybuilding, these guys can drift and harden up and all sorts of things. I mean, talking about condition, I mean, Bengali, I think we agree, is underrated. Needs maybe a bit more fuller leg size. But Corey Matthews in shape is going to be a danger. Same for Abaspor. If that guy really got into condition, he'd blow the doors off everything. He's got so much muscle. I don't know what he weighed, but maybe he's sort of still flitting between should he go in the open and blow it out, or should he stay in the 212s?
Well, that's an interesting call, Peter, because Baye from Iran came out, probably one of the pre-contest favorites, but seemed to be lacking a little bit. He looked good, but not great. Definitely needed to be a little bit sharper when they came out, but didn't really seem to gain any ground either. It looked like they got him like in the 8th or 9th spot.
Yeah, they had him on the outside the whole time. They didn't move him in at all. You know, as Peter said, he is gigantic, and I don't even know how he makes 212. It's not like he's a short guy in the 212. So it's beyond me how he even gets into the weight class. And it's kind of an interesting guy to watch. You know, when he turned around, he's got striations in his glutes, but he still has, like, I don't even want to say a film. He still has some fat that needs to come off. So as Peter said, if he ever comes in just super diced, because it's not like he's in bad condition, but if he ever comes in super diced, I think it's game over for everybody. He's just that big. But, you know, he's got to bring the conditioning. You know, he's obviously the judges have, you know, shown us time and time again they're not going to let him walk through on size. We saw it in Dallas, we saw it in New York, and now we're seeing it here again. He's got to bring it all together, otherwise he's going to continue to be overlooked. And I don't even want to say overlooked, but continue to be outside the top 5.
Looked over, as it would be. Well, he's probably in 8th or 9th now. He could make up some ground tonight, conceivably, but you're only going to jump so many spots from 8th or 9th. You know, maybe you can get to a 7th, possibly a 6th, but even that's almost far-fetched. But plenty of other action on stage today. We had the women's bodybuilding took the stage, and plenty of them. The competition, once again, seemed to be a little bit all over the place, but so were the physiques.
Yeah, you know, they brought out 4 girls, the first call-out, Sheila Black, Kala Bullimore, Monique Jones, and Jennifer Sadia. Now, it's bodybuilding. So it's, you know, muscle counts, and if that's the case, I had Monique Jones walking out of this place as the clear winner. She is far and away bigger than everybody else. Her conditioning was pretty good, and for as big as she is, she still has good aesthetics. That said, Sheila Black and Jennifer Sadia had incredible conditioning, and we're still very muscular from a female standpoint. So that looks like the direction they were going. But again, I thought Monique just crushed it. You know, to her fault, her best attribute is her lats. I mean, they're absolutely incredible. And they turned around and they did this rear lat spread. And we talked about this on the radio show with these guys at the USA's. They called rear lat spread. They had moved on to the next pose before she hit her lat spread in every shot. She brought her arms back, and then she brought them down, and she was halfway through her lat spread when they called it. And they did it. She did it in the first call out, and then they shuffled things around and had a second call out, and she did it again. So as a bodybuilder, you have to show your strong points, and when that pose is far and away her strongest point and she misses it twice, yeah, that could have hurt her a lot.
Well, what also seemed to hurt her a lot, and you're right, David, I mean, she has more muscle than anybody out there, but obviously all factors coming into play, Peter. But the bottom line was, I mean, I've seen her in a little bit better conditioning, although she was not in bad conditioning, obviously. But the midsection, that's not something I've seen before on her. Seemed to be out a little bit, but she almost seemed to have a tougher time controlling it this time around.
Yeah, there was from the side, she was blowing out a little bit. Excuse me.
You're all choked up about the women's bodybuilding, aren't you?
Yeah, I just wanted to get to the fitness and the figure. Excuse me. Glass of water over there. No, so, yeah, I mean, she was the standout one, you know, with that shape and the delts and the lats. But it seemed to me that they were really going for conditioning, even though some of the girls were slight, whereas bigger girls like Ashley Young were really left out of it, who were fully developed. And my thinking was, now we've got the women's physique division, it's almost like, right, get on with it, you know, for the women's bodybuilding. We just let them do what they want to do and get as big as possible. And I was a bit lost at times at the beginning there with the call-outs.
Well, I hate to use the fruit analogy as always, but you talk about your apples and oranges. I mean, you know, you had Sheila and Jennifer, who, by the way, we haven't seen her in a few years now, so a little comeback for her, up against Mojo, who, you know, has all the size in the world, but certainly not as conditioned. So, but like I said, you know, the judges can only judge what's in front of them. You know, if there's a consistency to be had, but it's that there's inconsistency, obviously, in the physiques. So it'll be interesting to see how they go, but obviously it looks like it's between Jennifer and Sheila Black. Any thought process on that for tonight, David?
I think if I had to pick one, I think I'm going with Sheila. I mean, her conditioning was fantastic, good aesthetics. You know, for as big as Monique is, it's not like Sheila was small. She's not, like, lacking muscularity. So a really good showing for Sheila. So I think you'll probably see her as the winner.
All right. Well, the gentlemen also taking the stage here today at the Prejudging, Peter, the men's physique division, something you would have been in years ago had they offered it. So keep those board shorts.
I'll be wearing them tonight.
But one of the bigger classes of the day, I mean, these guys were coming out by the dozens. I mean, 30 of them all in all. And some of the bigger names in men's physique, probably most prominently, Sadiq Hadzovic, looked like he was probably in the driver's seat into the finals tonight.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, I'm very impressed with the men's physique since it was launched. They're really coming in condition. But I thought today's lineup, in depth, was probably the, I don't want to use the word, but I am going to do one of the poorest I've seen, you know, and some guys that you thought would do well weren't doing well. I sort of picked out Anton Atipov right from the beginning, and it seems that him and Sadiq are the ones vying for that top spot. I thought Antipov beat him because Sadiq seemed to lose his ab formation. There wasn't a six-pack there, and with Antipov there was. So that's the way I see it.
Well, Sadiq almost looked like he put on some size this year, muscle size. Like, we saw a picture on Facebook or whatever it was this week. I think he was hitting a crab shot, but he looked like a bodybuilder. Good, but also not good when you talk about men's physique, because like you say, I think it was at the expense of some conditioning.
Yeah, I think Sadiq looked really good. Maybe not quite as sharp as we saw him in New York, but he's definitely in really good shape. It's interesting about his physique, what Peter had said. His obliques and his serratus and everything are absolutely out of this world, and his waist is tiny. Yeah. And I don't know if when he's up there, I don't even know how you'd focus that hard on flexing your serratus and your obliques and not your abs. But Peter's absolutely correct. If you see him, his waist looks tiny. All this stuff is shredded, but doesn't have like a pop and 6 or an 8-pack where Antov definitely had. Yeah, so it's a little bit of an interesting look. Peter had touched on it a little bit, and I said it in our play-by-play thread. From top to bottom, this is one of the most disappointing men's physique divisions I've seen all year. I've been at a lot of the shows that have had men's physique, even at the USA's. I think you take a crop of the guys at the USA's last week, and minus Sadiq and Anton, I think the competition at the USA's was significantly better than it was here today. The first call out, the guys in the first call out looked good to me, and when they put those guys up there, I was like, okay, this isn't too bad. After the first call out, it dropped off just terribly. Well,
that's interesting, Peter, because this obviously the last qualifier before the Olympia, as we're T-minus 6 weeks away. So you would think that actually would be completely the other way, and we would have seen one of the best lineups of the year. Interesting.
Yeah, and the other thing I've noticed as we've gone along, I haven't attended as many shows as you two guys in the last 2 years, but the guys are getting bigger, so you wonder what's going on there. And to me, it's a little bit about going back to when the fitness class for women was introduced. This was to balance against bodybuilding and muscle, and then they got muscular and ripped, so brought in the figure, and then they're getting bigger, so you bring in the bikini. I see this physique getting bigger. I mean, some of these guys are heavier than Frank Zane.
And of course, David, we'd be remiss if we left out the women's fitness competitors. Now, not a lot. I think there's only 13 of them, if memory serves, but I think we're going to get some good routines. All we saw was a two-piece today, which you can get kind of an idea. Obviously, Bethany's sister Nino, one of the perennial favorites and a top Olympian on the stage. I don't see anybody beating her in the first round and probably not in the second one tonight.
No, Bethany's sister Nino, as we had discussed, from a physique standpoint, which is all that is being judged this morning, far and away the best on the stage. The two other girls in the top three, Christine Duba's structure is absolutely incredible. I think it's comparable, if not as good as Bethany's sister Nino's, not quite as lean. And Darian Tissenbaum, I think she's only 22 or 23 out of Pittsburgh, former gymnast. I know some people thought she'd been overlooked earlier on in the year. She's in that top three, so she looked really good today as well. So again, I think Bethany, from a physique standpoint, is in the driver's seat. Anybody who's seen her, perform her routines knows that she's definitely known for that as well. So I think if I had to pick a winner just based on tonight and what we've seen in the past from a routine standpoint, I think Bethany's probably going to be in the top spot.
Darian Tissenbaum was actually in Chicago, and she was one of the favorites coming in, but she actually got ill at the competition. Wasn't feeling well at all day. I don't know if it was a little food poisoning or something didn't quite sit with her well, but she wasn't doing well at all. I finally had to withdraw from the competition, so people didn't get a chance to see her in Chicago, but they will get a chance here tonight. As we'll be coming back with the finals. Of course, the girls will be doing their routines. We'll see the finals for the gentlemen, the women bodybuilders, and, of course, the 212 on the line tonight. So thanks for the report, guys. It's going to be a good one this weekend. We've got a full boat tomorrow as well. So don't go anywhere, guys. We're going to be coming back right here at MD with all the updates tomorrow. We've got the men's open. We've got women's physique. We have figure and bikini. So full boat tomorrow. Keep your eyes on that bikini, Peter. Get some notes.
I don't look at the bikinis, actually, but I look at the, never mind.
You're looking at the physiques, of course, but yeah, never mind. Anyway, all right, that's going to wrap things up here for David and Peter. This is Bob Chick. Keep tuned. We'll be having all the updates today and tomorrow. Starting in the morning, we've got prejudging and, of course, the finals tomorrow as well. That's going to wrap things up here in Tampa. We're out.